Hey, Gojo. I love you.
Let's go. So throughout my many years of watching anime, the main genres of anime I used to watch were either shonen battle anime and a lot, I repeat, a lot of harem and isekai anime. Very rarely, that's a mouthful. Very rarely did I get the chance to be blessed with a show that wasn't in the genre that I was already watching. But this year, something changed. Suddenly, I was watching a genre of anime I hadn't watched before, a genre of anime that touched my heart and also made me realize how lonely I am.
I just love her.
Romance anime has recently become one of my favorite genres of anime to watch next to shonen. I don't know what it is, but seeing two characters fall in love and genuinely want to better each other's lives is just so wholesome. So good. That doesn't mean there isn't poop in the shows I watch before I eventually strike gold with the one show that gives me that dopamine that my brain needs to make it through one more week. And amidst all the new and old great shows in the genre such as Horimiya and Love After World Domination, there's one show that caught my attention the most, and that was My Dress Up Darling. What's up guys, Tyron here, and as you just discovered, I am a massive simp.
Interesting.
And in this video, I'm going to painfully explain to you why I think My Dress Up Darling does romance so well. Shout out to Makoto Yuki for subscribing, appreciate the sub, and joining this growing community. If you would also like to be part of this community, don't forget to smack that like button into oblivion and continue beating the subscribe button. And let's get to 30 subscribers and 30 likes on this video, and if we do that, I'll make a video on why I hate this thing, whatever this thing is. You know, when it comes to romance, I've always asked myself, how can writers center a story around two people and write a believable romance that actually feels natural and doesn't feel like I'm watching poop for 12 episodes? And yes, I'm looking at you, you absolute piece of dog shit story. A good writer knows how to create a plot that makes the story feel natural, and I think when it comes to Shinichi Fukuda, and I apologize, I really apologize if I'm butchering the name, but when it comes to Shinichi Fukuda, I feel like she knows how to write romance very well, and as a result of this has written one of my favorite love stories in fiction. She really takes the W on this. So what is the plot of My Dress Up Darling now that I've finished praising its amazing author? Well, the plot of the story centers around our two main leads, Wakana Gojo and Marin Kitagawa. Our antisocial king, Gojo, is someone who felt outed by society because of an incident that happened with a childhood friend who judged him for liking something that society deems as girly. From there, he distances himself from everyone while growing up and doesn't make any real friends even when he gets to high school because he's too scared that people will judge him for his love of doll making. It's only after he meets fellow lead and best girl Marin that his perspective on people starts to change. That's gonna hurt in the morning. This only enhances the story when he discovers that she's a giant geek who loves cosplaying, video games, and is also a huge degenerate. Marin is someone who wants to express her love for things she loves by cosplaying, but doesn't have the skills required to make the clothes she wants to. Gojo, who has skills in making clothes because he grew up learning how to make Hina dolls, easily sets up Marin's request to ask him to be her seamstress later in that episode. That much easier. The story now follows Marin and Gojo's relationship as they help each other to become more expressive with their passions and their growing feelings for each other. Well, I say growing feelings for the overall story because in the first season, it's more Marin realizing that she's fallen in love with Gojo, and she realizes that she's fallen in love with them halfway through the show's 12-episode run. Yeah, that's right. By episode 6, We in here. This is extremely refreshing because with this kind of story, the writer has to make sure that the chemistry our leads have is the most important thing. Marin bringing Gojo out of his shell and her in turn falling for him because she sees how sweet, hardworking, kind and compassionate he is the crux of the story. A lot of romance series tend to have this main protagonist who has a girl fall for him, but their relationships aren't expanded upon, and as the years progress it feels like the most romantic series want to shoehorn in an unnecessary harem into a sweet story about two people falling in love. And this happened with one of my favorite recent shows that did it in the second season, and that's Science Types Fell in Love. Why? Why would you put an unnecessary harem into a story with this interesting of a premise?
Why are you so negative all the time? What? I don't know. What?
That being said though, I think the idea of an antisocial guy meeting a popular carefree girl who's also a massive degenerate who teaches him to be more expressive and ends up helping him to better his own craft while she in turn falls in love with him because of how much he does to make her dreams of cosplaying as her favorite characters actually happen, makes My Dress Up Darling's plot one of the best in the romance genre. With natural plot progression and a very smooth level of pacing that doesn't take our two leads forever to figure out how much they actually like each other, the story really stands out as a breath of fresh air. And since I won't shut up about our two main leads, let's talk about them. And let's start with our resident best girl of the year, Marin Kitagawa. In this section I call, oh my god, she's not a tsundere. You know, when it comes to best girl candidates and waifu contenders, I don't ask for much honestly. I just want a character whose personality is charming, is more than just their personality trait, i.e. being a tsundere, and actually contributes to the story. Don't get me wrong, I don't think being more than just your personality trait is a bad thing. Sometimes that's what makes the story better. An example of this would be Don't Toy With Me Miss Nagatoro, whose other lead in the story is, and I say this nicely because she does turn into a more likable character as you watch the show and read the manga, but she's, for lack of a better word, a bit of a bitch. But her being a Sato Dere makes her character that much more enjoyable because you can tell that she's actually more than just her personality trait, and that's what makes the romance between her and her love interest so sweet. She bullies this guy, but you can genuinely see that she cares about him. Marin, on the other hand, is one of the few characters in romance anime that already knows how they feel about the guy she's friends with, so we don't have to spend fucking 20 years before we can get some good information on how she feels. My favorite thing about her characterization is that she doesn't do the whole act like a bitch whenever she's around Gojo. She doesn't push him away or be mean to him just for being in the same vicinity as him. She's not annoying in any way possible, and anytime she's not on screen is more time I want her to be on screen. Marin has a certain charm about her that makes falling for her easier to do because she's not the tropey lead. She feels like a fully realized character who knows what she likes, who knows what she feels, and isn't shy or hesitant to call out people who disrespect her or the things she likes. And this is shown in one of my favorite early scenes in the show that I really love, and that's when Marin calls out a guy trying to flirt with her for disrespecting one of her favorite characters from her favorite show. It's such an easy way to do character introduction, but it's such a great way to do it at the same time because you can see what type of character she is from the jump, and as the rest of the story progresses it shows more of her other character traits, her flaws, and only increases her likability moving forward. A similar character with a similar setup to My Dress Up Darling, that being Shikimori from Shikimori's Not Just a Cutie, is the opposite of this. Granted, I never liked her in the first place, but that's because her character is so fucking boring. I honestly realized that when I thought for some reason that she could compete with Marin, but then I came to my senses. But I was so bored when watching her and her love interest. Her own character doesn't feel as fluid as Marin. She's kind and she loves her boyfriend, sure, but it just feels like That's all there is to it. Marin's first few seconds on screen is better than 80% of the first season of Shikimori's Not Just a Cutie. And before anyone thinks I'm trying to compare Marin to Shikimori, I'm not. I'd never disrespect my queen. Like, what I am comparing is how to write an interesting lead in a genre where characterization and the chemistry between two characters is the crux of the story. And that's why Marin is one of the best and probably is waifu of the year.
Also, let's not forget that she's a massive weeb degenerate with big anime titty.
On a more serious note though, Marin Kitagawa's presence in the anime scene has been felt. Not only is she cute, charming and funny and an absolute sweetheart who makes watching My Dress Up Darling that much more fun, but knowing that she loves Gojo by the end of the first season makes her one of my favorite characters in romance. All hail our queen. Moving on to our best boy, Wakana Gojo, a character who breaks the self-insert rule when it comes to male leads in romance anime. No, don't at me for that comment. Gojo is a character I genuinely like from the bottom of my heart because he's not a creepy sex-crazed monster, unlike a certain pile of walking feces that I will not mention for obvious reasons. But to be serious, Gojo's characterization from his childhood all the way until meeting Marin is one of the most relatable things that takes place in the story, and I say that to say that one childhood experience can shape how someone views the world. Unlike other boys, Gojo growing up found a love for doll making through his grandfather and wanted to share this with a childhood friend of his. Up until that moment, he thought that sharing his love of Hina dolls would also make his friend appreciate it too, but after she screamed at him for loving dolls, which is something that only girls are allowed to do in the eyes of society, does this cause Gojo to start isolating himself from people, afraid that people will judge him because of what he likes and what he wants to do with his pursuit of doll making? Does he push away the thought of having any friends in the first place? His lack of social skills cause him to not recognize certain things, like when he's being used for manual labor by his classmates, and shows how difficult it is to interact with others when he's approached by other schoolmates. It's only until he meets his future waifu that everything starts to change for the better. Him meeting Marin starts his new character arc in the story of growing into a more social person, learning to express himself more and improve on his doll making. Gojo, for lack of a better word, is a dense character, but not in a dense way that is a detriment to him and Marin's relationship. His desire to help Marin to cosplay as her favorite characters is one of the core aspects of their friendship. So although Marin isn't a prude when it comes to revealing her body, Gojo doesn't view what they have as romantic as of yet, but as the story goes you can tell that he lets down his guard to her more and more, and you can see that he really likes her a lot and even calls her beautiful after he completes her first outfit for her. Gojo also isn't a self-insert for the male audience of the show. Something that I feel a lot of romance anime fail to do is make characters in these types of shows feel like their own characters. It just feels like most of these characters are self-insert male protagonists who are designed to mimic us guys in the real world so we can view the idea of what we'd like to happen. Gojo, on the other hand of the spectrum, is a fully realized character who just needs to work on himself more, and Marin is the person who helps him through that. With more time as the story progresses, I think we'll see more and more sides of Gojo, and when Gojo falls in love with Marin the way we have already, it'll be a great day for all of us. And if you still don't believe me after making it this far into the video, then rewatch the anime, read the manga, and then watch other romance anime and see if you find the same feeling that you get when you watch My Dress Up Darling. Or don't. I'm not forcing you to do anything you don't like. But to give my final thoughts on My Dress Up Darling, then I'll end the video with this. I love romance anime. There are a lot of series. Horimiya, Love After World Domination, Kaguya-sama, and My Dress Up Darling are some of my favorite series in the genre because these shows know how to do romance right. There's a certain level of realism that these stories manage to have that make their characters more real, and the chemistry that they share with one another makes these stories all the more enjoyable. Don't get me wrong, I know the title of this video sounds very clickbaity, especially since I just listed other anime that also do romance really well. It's just that My Dress Up Darling is just one of the few anime in the last couple of years that caught my attention. Gojo and Marin have such a sweet and wholesome growing relationship. The chemistry between the two of them manages to keep me so invested that I'm really sad that we have to wait years until season 2 comes out. Until then, go watch and read My Dress Up Darling. If you're a massive simp like me, you won't regret it. And if you don't like the romance, the animation, the art, and overall vibe of the show is really good too. Also, it's super horny. And if you still haven't found anything to enjoy about My Dress Up Darling, I don't know. Go find God or something, I don't know. You'll do yourself a giant favor by watching this show. Trust me. Welcome to the outro, my fellow weirdos. It's been months since this anime came out, and I know my video will probably get lost in the mist, but I want to drop more videos sooner on shows I like so that I can keep a consistent schedule with dropping every 2 weeks while I work on longer, bigger videos. I don't want to spoil the next video I'm gonna do, but it's about the MCU and I'm really excited to do it, so stay tuned, subscribe, and go watch my other video about why I love shonen. You'll definitely enjoy it if you like hearing me talk about things I like. Don't forget to leave a comment, and I'll see y'all later.